This is problem number 86 of the 2012 AP Calculus exam. If the first derivative of x is greater than 0 for all real numbers x, and if the integral from 4 to 7 of f of t dt is equal to 0, which of the following could be a table of values for the function f? Let's go ahead and begin. Let's start with a graph. I'm going to use the values from this table in part A. So let's start with this first coordinate, 4 and negative 4. Now let's plot that point. Let's then look at 5 and negative 3. And then 7 and 0. Now, if we look at the integral from 4 to 7 of f of t dt, it says it must be equal to 0. Well, if I look at this integral, I'm looking at the area on that interval from 4 to 7, and this graph has to have the slope of the tangent line being positive. So I could have something like this, or I could even have something like this. But we're looking at what is the area of a function's graph that looks something like that. And what I know is it's below the axis, and therefore that area is negative. That integral then would be negative and not 0. So answer choice A is not our solution. Let's look at the table of values from part B. So let's look at this one next. We have again 4 and negative 4. We have 5 and negative 2. And we have 7 and 5. And so again, we're looking at the area from 4 to 7, and we've got to make sure and maintain that the slope of the tangent line is always greater than 0. So let's again start with the value at 4, and let's look at something that looks like this. And then maybe even something that, again, still maintains a positive slope for the tangent line. And we're looking at these two possibly, and notice that this area is negative, this area is positive. It could equal 0. So that's a possibility, and a good possibility. And so far, that would be my answer choice, is letter B. Let's look at part C and see if C, D, or E are even possible. And again, that's what the question stated, which could be a table of values. And B could be. All right, let's look at C. If I have the graph, the first coordinate is 4, negative 4 again. And then I have 5 and 6. And then I have 7 and 3. Okay, so let's look. I could again have something that had a positive slope tangent line, that the slope of the tangent line being positive. But notice if I come to this one, even if I come this way or if I come this way, the slope of those tangent lines are negative, and so that's going to kick out or eliminate answer choice C. Not possible. And it's because of that first restriction of the first derivative of x is always greater than 0. And in this case, it would not be. All right, so let's go to letter D. And we have the table of values at 4, 0. We have 5, 0. And we have 7, 0. Now, the slope of the tangent lines here are all 0. They're horizontal. And I don't have any area. I do have this part correct. I don't have any area. It is 0. But notice I have a restriction that the slope of the tangent lines has to be greater than 0. And these are exactly 0. They're horizontal. So it is not letter D. It does not meet that first requirement. Let's look at E. We have 4, 0. We have 5, 4. And we have 7, 6. And again, I'm looking at that first restriction. That could work. But when I look at the area, I notice everything's above the axis, and therefore that area would be positive, a positive answer, and not 0. It's not possible for it to be 0. So it does not meet that second restriction or requirement. And so E is out. So the only one that could be a possible table of values is letter B. And that's our answer choice.